Happy Wednesday, folks. Hope you're doing well. There is a lot going on. There's a lot happening these days, especially when it comes to the issue of crime. We know that there's been this whole tension of the fentanyl drug issue that's been happening between Canada and the US, Mexico, and all of that. Well, Mr. Sam Cooper broke a story on that, and let's just say it's not really encouraging, but it's good to know. It's good to know where things are actually going and how this government continues to obfuscate the details. Obfuscate what's actually happening so people leave them alone and don't ask more questions. And guess what? That's not happening today. We are going to be digging into the details of what is currently happening in terms of violence happening across our nation, the crime that's happening with drug running across our country, and so much more. There's some stories to break on this. Welcome to the Elevate Podcast. I'm your host, Josh. If you get any value from today's episode, take the time to like, share, and subscribe. It helps us to grow, helps us to get to new audiences, and helps people see that there's something different than what the mainstream media has to offer. Now, let's go into our first story, shall we? We know about this story. We know what's been going on. We know the tension that has been rising. When you call it the fentanyl issue in Canada, the typical answer back is, well, we only make up 1% of the fentanyl stuff that comes across the United States border. Blah, 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 blah. And then, our reciprocation to that is, well, we only check 1% of shipping containers that come into our ports. So what else is happening through the 99%, especially since a lot of these precursors are coming in from China? That's our debate point back. And then they come back with something like this. They're like, well, look, seizures are up. We're catching the stuff. We are tracking it down. The government is doing their job. Life is good. Fentanyl seizures are up as the U.S. northern border, but Canada is still a very small player. The mainstream media will continue to frame this as, look, the government's doing their job, but still very small, not a big deal. Well, Sam Cooper hopped on the Brave New Normal podcast and discussed this further of what is actually happening post these seizures. And man, it will stun you.
Two major cases, one Alberta, one in Ontario over the past few years, when a minimal level of cooperation does occur with the United States, the cases were brought to trial, or rather, people were charged. Major press conferences. You can't make this up. Major press conference in Toronto. Largest drug seizures ever. Commercial trucking. We seized tractor trailers. Alberta, a similar case called Project Cobra, largest meth seizure ever for Mexican cartels coming up into Alberta. In both cases, on the eve of trial, all charges dropped. So let's focus in Ontario. It's called Project Breeza. 182 charges. Everything dropped. What are the issues? The Jordan rule means that Crown has to prosecute in a timely way. Defense lawyers know this. Stinchcombe demands that they disclose sensitive material. So both of those laws are used to get everything thrown out. Millions of taxpayer dollars, no results. Same thing in Alberta. Same thing. Everything disappears. Another key detail that I cannot leave out is that the Americans were trying to disrupt these Indo-Canadian trucking routes, and in some cases seizing drugs from people in the United States. And the RCMP would get mad, I was told, and say, that's disrupting, our operations. We want the drugs to come back into Canada. Them, right? This was happening over and over. Again, not cooperating with the Americans who actually have laws, who could have stopped the drugs, broken the networks, put those people in prison for real jail terms. No, Canadians say, let them come back. They do a seizure, a press conference, and then everything goes away.
Just wanted to let you sit with that one for just a little second there. That is exactly what's happening, not just in terms of violent crime in our country where people are being put away, then being brought back on bail. It's happening with the big drug rings too. That they'll go as far as making huge press conferences, huge announcements. Look at what we're doing. Look at what we seized. Bum, bum, bum. Later, all charges dropped. Either because of some technicality in our criminal code, and no one really cares enough to really follow up on it. This is where things are currently at, and why conservatives are upset. Why you see Poilievre get so angry in the House of Commons. Why is he such an angry guy? Because of stuff like this, guys. The Liberals refuse to really do anything about it. They know it's a problem. They know it's an issue. Real people are suffering, but they won't do anything about it. And at this point, you have to ask, is this being done on purpose now? Because no one can be this stupid. Quite frankly, no one can be literally this dumb, this negligent, this bad at the job. That's just, I'm throwing that out the window now. This is completely being done on purpose. I have to believe that at this point. You've given me no other reason to. Sean Fraser, are you doing this on purpose now? Is this on purpose? I need to know. Just be honest. Where are things going at this point? Stuff's a joke. And so when you hear the story, you hear about, well, what about our fentanyl czar? Don't forget what about our fentanyl czar said. Admitted to U.S. authorities that he has no authority. No authority of the CBSA, no authority of the RCMP, no authority to do anything about any of this stuff. It's the Canadian way. I should say, the liberal Canadian way. Establish a figurehead, make it look like you're doing something, and do nothing. But what are those Black Hawk helicopters? They've done next to nothing either. It's all pageantry at this point to placate the United States. And the problem is they think the United States is dumb. They really do. They think the U.S. is dumb, even though they would smoke us in terms of intelligence because that's where they put a lot of their money into. And we refuse to work with them. RCMP, as you heard from Sam Cooper, getting upset with U.S. authorities for stopping drug smuggling into Canada. Getting upset with them. No, let them come in. But there's only 1% of fentanyl. It's a tired argument. It doesn't work. And we want to make sure that you have the facts so you can properly communicate this to people who don't otherwise know. We move into another story, though. A story that was very high profile. You probably remember it. A Jewish father who was assaulted in broad daylight in Montreal, simply being Jewish. Well, we followed up on that story. The Associated Press put an article out on it. Montreal man who attacked Jewish father in park, not criminally responsible. Sergio Llanos Bercedo was charged with assault causing bodily harm after he attacked a 32-year-old man on August 8th who was with his young children at a Montreal park. A 28-second video of the incident was shared widely online, drawing swift condemnation from Prime Minister Mark Carney and Quebec Premier François Legault. Bercedo, age 23 at the time, sprayed the victim with a bottle of water, then pushed him to the ground, punching and kneeing him before fleeing on foot. A judge on Monday declared the assailant was not criminally responsible for the attack because he was suffering from a mental disorder at the time. Bercedo remains detained at the Montreal General Hospital. This is our system to a T. If you remember, if you caught the episode where I was able to interview Mayor Brad West from Port Coquitlam, BC, he had the exact same situation happen to him directly, where a man threatened to kill him and his family, said he had a gun, and cops went to the guy's home, checked out. He had a replica gun, had him arrested, and they were going to let him go. And Mayor Brad West had to push and push and push to get him actually locked up. He had to fight like hell, he said. And that's a threat with a guy who had a weapon, or at least a replica weapon, don't matter, who was planning to kill a public official and his family. But because he had a mental disorder, they were going to let him off. And Mayor Brad West said, no, what? Are you kidding me? I don't really care. He's a threat to my family. No. And the exact same law and the exact same approach was used for this man right here. Because he has a mental disorder, we're letting him go. The man just assaulted a father of two in front of his children. I'm going to let this one go. Okay. Understood. Figure out what this communicates to citizens. And you wonder why chaos is on the verge of breaking out in the streets. It's because of BS like this. You had Larry Brock drop a video yesterday and sitting in a committee room on the Hill. And he was saying that, hey, we're here to talk about justice reform. Where's everybody else? And this is his video, and we're going to kind of break down what happened here, what's been going on. There's a bit of obfuscation around this as well, I'll be honest, but we'll break it down and try to clear this all up.
This is the Conservative Justice Team. We are here in our room, ready to start a Justice Committee meeting. But colleagues, we're the only ones in this room. We don't have our Liberal chair. We have no Liberal members. We have no Bloc member. We were here sent by Canadians to do a job. And that job is to fix a broken justice system. We're here, ready to work. I sent a letter to the chair yesterday asking for a meeting today because it is a regularly scheduled Justice Day. Crickets. Not even the courtesy of a response. Roman, what do you have to say about this?
It is Tuesday afternoon. Justice Committee is supposed to meet. We're here ready to work, and the Liberals are not here. We had another person shot dead in Toronto overnight. We desperately need bail and sentencing reform. We learned from the Toronto police just this week that 1 out of 4 homicides involve a young offender. We desperately need to look at the Young Offenders Act because custodial sentences are limited to 4 years. And where are the Liberals? Liberals are refusing to cooperate with us, and they refuse to engage in any meaningful reform. This is unacceptable.
So this is the story. And the issue people really went to, understandably so, because I was one of them, where you went to all the committee meetings that were supposed to take place yesterday, and human resources and skills, citizenship and immigration, subcommittee on agenda and procedure, public accounts, and national defense. There's nothing on the docket for justice. And that's where everyone, especially on the right and the left, understandably so, people are confused but there's literally nothing scheduled. So of course there's nobody in the room. Well, like, what are we even doing here? What's going on? And it has been scheduled. It has been scheduled for tomorrow at 3:30 to 5:30. And so immediately people saw this post, myself included, and I felt like it was very performative. I was like, there's literally nothing scheduled. That's why no one's there. What are we even doing here? But that was just me seeing the post. Then I heard Larry Brock talk, and you heard it there. He said, this is the first day of committee. This is supposed to be a day this day is typically scheduled for a justice committee, but there was nothing scheduled for that day. And that was the argument that Larry Brock was making. And Larry Brock said, I sent a letter to the chair and got no response back, meaning that there was nothing that was going to be scheduled for yesterday. And that's what they're getting at here. And so the reason why I want to bring this up is because that's the argument that a lot of people are going to make, especially those on the left and people, fighting back from the other side on this, is there was nothing scheduled. What are you even doing? This makes you look like a fool. This makes you look stupid. Like, of course, there's nothing scheduled. And that's the little detail you need to keep in mind, is that Tuesday, again, first week back, that Tuesday typically scheduled for Justice Committee meetings, and they didn't schedule it. They pushed it to Thursday. And that's what they're bringing up, and that's the issue that's happening here, is we've talked about these different issues that are happening in our country right now, and they continue to push something that's so important like bail reform off. And this is the point they're trying to make here. I don't know if there's an effective approach because it's created a lot of confusion for a lot of people. However, that's the point they were trying to make here, is this is really important. We're supposed to be scheduled. This is typically a day that's categorized to be scheduled for today, and he didn't schedule anything. Then I sent him a letter to the chair, didn't hear anything back to get something scheduled for today. Nothing. So now I have to wait till Thursday, when people are literally dying in the streets and being harmed because our justice system is so terrible right now. But anyways, that's the update. This afternoon, there will be no video this afternoon. Your boy's got to take his dog to the vet. So I will see you tomorrow morning. But have yourselves a good one. I'm out.